everyone, welcome. In this three-part tutorial series, we will learn to separate build environments in our Flutter applications. In the first part, we will learn to set up development and production version of our application with different configs each in Dart side. In the second and third part, we will learn to set up Android flavors and iOS schemas so that we can use separate firewest configurations for development and production versions of our application. All the code required for this tutorial is available in my GitHub repository. The link I have shared in the description below. The master branch will consist of the starting code for the part 1, and part 1 branch consists the code for the completion of the part 1 of the tutorial. Let's get started with the first part. Here I have created a new Flutter project and done some housekeeping. I have separated the home page widget to a separate page and organized files into folders. Based on the build flavor, we want different config that holds our app title for our app by in the home page, and also a text inside a column in the home page, so that we get a clear understanding of how to make different configurations for different flavors of our application. So let us create a configuration object first. For that, I have created a resources folder, and inside that I have created appconfig.dart file, and in that I have imported meta package and I have made a class appconfig. So let's list out the things we want. Final string app title, and build flavor. For that, I'd like to create a constructor, and let's make this a named parameter, and each of these are required attribute. So this is our configuration object. In order for us to be able to access app configuration from anywhere in our app, we need to convert this into a inherited widget. So for that, first import material from Flutter, and then extend our app config from inherited widget. After that, we need to implement a function called update should notify, which for now we just return false because our app configuration will not change in the build time. Next, we need a child. We need to pass a child inside our inherited widget so that we can wrap our app with the inherited widget. Final child. So let's add that as a required attribute. And finally, we need to implement a static off function so that we can access app config from anywhere. So this is our inherited widget. Finally, we need to create two different main files for our two different flavors. So let us create that. Let's create main_dev.dart and also main_pro.dart. Let us first set up main_dev. This will contain our main function. So let us first import material package, then also import our app config, and also import our main file which contains our main app. So let us make a main function, void main. Inside this, let us create our app config is equals to app config, app title is Flutter flavors dev, as this is the development flavor, and build flavor is development, and child is my app. Okay, and finally we return run app configured app. Similarly, I've also set up main underscore production, where the build flavor is production and app title is Flutter flavors. In the main.dart file, let us remove the main function, as we'll not be using this anymore. And in place of this title, now what we can do is we can access our title from app config. So for that we need to import our app config, and in here what we can do is, instead of Flutter flavors, we can do app config of context dot app title. Similarly, in the my home page, here also let us import our app config, resources app config, and in our app bar, instead of Flutter flavors here, app config of context dot app title. Finally, in here we add a new text that says are running dollar of context dot build flavor. After the setup is done, we can run the different flavor of app using Flutter run command. So to run our dev flavor, we can do flutter run -t lib/main dev.dart. After this building is finished, our application will run, and we can see our application title as Flutter flavors dev in our app, and we can also see you are running development flavor in the body of our application. Similarly, we can run the production version by using same code. Instead of main_dev, we can use main_prod.dart. And once this finishes building, we can the app launches, and we can see that our application now has the title Flutter flavors, and we can see in the body you are running the production flavor. In this first part of the series, we learned how to set up development flavor in the Dart side and provide different application configuration based on our flavor. We can use this same technique to provide many other application configurations like API URL and database name and much other stuff that we would like to change based on our development flavor. In the next two videos, we'll be learning how to set up flavors in native side, both Android and iOS, so that we can use different configuration files, native configuration files like Firebase configurations and so on. Welcome to part 2 of the Flutter flavors tutorial. In this part, we will separate our build configs in Android side. We will create dev and prod flavors for our Android application and use separate Firebase configurations for separate Firebase project in two different configurations. The code for the part 2 of this tutorial is available in part 2-start branch of the repository. The link will be shared in the description below. I have made couple of changes after part 1. I have added Firestore dependency and configured it properly. To make this project work, when you clone this project, you need to add your own Google services.json from your Firebase project into app folder inside Android folder. To follow along with this tutorial, you need to create two Firebase projects. Here I have created Flutter flavors and Flutter flavors dev and configured both the project to work with Firestore database in test version for testing purpose. Now we set up build flavors in our Android app. To do that, open build.gradle inside your app folder and there paste the following code: flavor dimensions default and product flavors, inside which we define two product flavors, dev and production. And in dev we also add application id suffix.dev, which adds to our application id at the end. Now to add different Firebase configuration for different flavor, create two folders inside your Android app src folder that is named after your flavors, dev and another prod, right? So we add our development google service.json inside our dev folder and production google service.json inside your prod folder. I have added two different Firebase config for dev and production inside my app folder, dev and production folders. Now to run different flavors of our app, we use dash -- flavor argument in our flutter run command. So let's use flutter run -t our liv main dev and -- flavor dev. This will build our app for development flavor. Now that the app is running, let's try adding to our Firestore a test data tst test dev. So as this is a development flavor, this should add to our Firebase project in our dev. So Flutter flavors dev project, let me reload this page. So this should consist of our new test dev string. Let us now build for production flavor. In the same way, here we use the flavor as prod and the main file as prod. So let us build it. Once the app is running, let us try to add another string tst test prod to our Firebase. Once that is done, let's go to our Firebase console and let's see in the Flutter flavors project, not in the dev. So this should consist of our new test prod string. So this is how we can create different flavors in Android side. By using the part 1 in Dart side and part 2 in Android side, we are able to use different configurations for our app as well as different Firebase project in our Flutter application. Welcome to Flutter Flavors tutorial part 3. In this part, we will set up iOS schemas to confer with Flutter flavors so that we can use multiple Firebase environments in iOS app as well. So let's get started. For that, first we'll need to set up two different schemas. To do that, go to the product menu in your Xcode, go to schema and manage schemas. Once you are there, find and select the runner schema and press this little settings icon, press duplicate, name your schema dev and check this shared, check close. Again same, repeat, runner, duplicate, now prod, again check shared, close. So we now have two different schemas, prod and dev. Select the project runner, not the target runner. Okay, in the project runner, go to info and there you'll find this configurations. Now what we need to do is we need to create two configurations for each schemas, debug and release. So let's select debug and then duplicate debug configuration. Let's name it debug-dev. All right, again duplicate debug configuration, debug-prod. Similarly, repeat the process for release. Release dev and then release prod. Once the configurations are set, now it's time to provide the proper configurations to your schemas. So let us go to product, schema, and manage schemas. And let's go to our dev first, then press edit, and in debug select the build configuration debug dev. Archives, select release dev and select close. Again, product, schema, manage schemas. This time select production, edit, and in debug select debug prod. Also in archive select release prod. Now inside your runner directory, create new directory. New group with folder Firebase. Inside that, let's create two more directories for our schemas. Dev and prod. Let us add our Google configurations to our production and dev. I have those configurations right here. So this is my production configurations. Let me drag and drop this inside the production folder. Finish. Let's do the same for the dev. Inside dev folder, finish. Select the target runner, go to build phases, and let's add a new run script phase. Let's name it Firebase setup, and let's write our script. I'll just paste it here. I'll put the code in our readme file in the GitHub directory. So let me adjust the path here. I wrote the name of the folder in a small letter. Same for the dev. Finally, bring this Firebase setup above compile sources. Still in the target runner, let's go into build settings. In here select combine at the top and basic. That gives you the product bundle identifier somewhere down here. Now we want to change the bundle identifier for our dev configuration, so let's make this .dev dev, and also in release dev let's make this .dev dev. This separates our two different projects in the Firebase console. Finally, we can go back to our VS Code and open our Flutter Flavors project, and in here I have made run configurations. Inside .vs code folder, make launch.json, and in that add your run configuration. So Flutter Dev is name Flutter Dev, request launch, type dart, and in the args you pass the array of strings -t liv main dev -- flavor dev. This way what I can do is I can go to this debug panel and select my run configurations and run my app. No need to go through terminal. This concludes our Flutter Flavors tutorial. Using flavors, we can separate multiple versions of our application, may it be development or production version, or may it be paid and unpaid version of our app. Thank you for watching my tutorials.